Hello respected viewers, I'm George from Ireland and this is London. So you can see the House of Parliament across the River Thames from me, and this is a video about Boris Johnson's future. So Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the 6th of June, he faced a vote of confidence in his own Conservative and Unionist party. So this was as him as leader of the party, not as Prime Minister, and it was conducted according to the Conservative Party rules and not to the law of the land. So there been growing disgruntlement in Conservative ranks with Johnson since Christmas last year, when it came to light that he had attended 3 lockdown parties in breach of the laws that he himself had framed. He was fined by the police the measly sum of £50 for this. He's apologised to the House of Commons and to Her Britannic Majesty and so on, but it's a breach of trust, and he's lied on multiple occasions in Parliament and elsewhere, claiming that no lockdown parties took place, that the rules were adhered to at all times, and so forth, and sent his minions out to also relay these mistruths to the public. So it's damaged his standing. The Conservatives lost the local elections to various local councils around the UK, so that their worst result for about 25 years. Anyway, so the economy is suffering. There's high inflation, unemployment's fairly low. In fact, there are labour shortages. There's increasing illegal immigration. There's this unpopular, possibly unworkable plan to send asylum seekers to be processed in Rwanda. There may be a legal challenge to that. There are various other difficulties. The crime is rising, education's not improving, the NHS, National Health Service, is under severe strain. Anyway, if 15% of Conservative MPs write to the chairman of the 1922 committee, that will force a vote of confidence in the leader. So the 1922 committee is for backbench Conservative members of Parliament. That's to say, Conservative MPs who are not cabinet ministers or even junior ministers. Finally, on the 6th of May, that figure of 54 MPs, being 15% of the Conservative Parliamentary Party, was reached. Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922 committee, he confirmed that. Up until that time, he had refused to say how many such letters he had received. So the vote went ahead that self-same day. Anyway, as was universally expected, Boris Johnson won this. But by a little bit less than anticipated, 59% of Conservative MPs voted to keep him, voted that they had confidence in him. Had he lost, he would have been out as leader of the Conservative Party, had to remain on as Prime Minister in a caretaker capacity until such time as a new leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party could be elected, and in the forthcoming election he would not be permitted to contest the leadership of the Conservative Party. But he won. But he won by less than was foreseen. So there have been 5 such votes of confidence in Conservative leaders down the years. The first was in November 1990, Margaret Thatcher. She won 55% of the vote, but nevertheless she felt herself to be held below the waterline, and she was convinced by those whom she respected that she ought to tender her resignation to Her Gracious Majesty. And Thatcher was also persuaded that the Conservative Party would stand a better chance of winning the forthcoming election if she were to fall on her sword. Moreover, that her legacy was secure in the hands of her anointed successor, John Major. So she did that. And a few people abstained in that vote. John Major held that surprise vote of confidence in himself in 1995 by resigning to trigger such an election, the back me or sack me election. He won 66% of the vote. Ironically, the highest share of the vote that any Tory leaders got in a vote of confidence. He went on to be absolutely slaughtered in the election 2 years later, the general election, at which point, of course, he resigned as leader of the party. And then who else was there? Ian Duncan Smith, he was voted out in October 2003. Boris Johnson was a new Tory MP, and he'd written in his Daily Telegraph column the day before that he would get down into a ditch to defend Ian Duncan Smith. But just days later, he reneged on that pledge and he voted against Ian Duncan Smith. What else? There are various other people. So Theresa May, she faced a leadership challenge in January 2019, which she won 65% of the vote. Nevertheless, she stepped down as Prime Minister just half a year later. She had thrice failed to get her Brexit deal ratified by the UK Parliament. She felt authority had leached away. The point is, nobody has survived more than 2 years after a vote of confidence being held, even those who win it. I mean, I say 5, actually I suppose there was one about a year before in 1989 in Thatcher's leadership. She won about 90% against Sir Anthony Mayor, this MP for Clwyd in Wales. So people say that Boris Johnson's days are numbered. They're still plotting among Conservative MPs what could happen, mass resignations of the cabinet. I don't see that transpiring. They're attempting to destabilise him. As John Redwood said in 1995 about trying to kick out John Major as Prime Minister, it may be a case of no change, no chance. But actually, the opinion polls show that more people would like Johnson as Prime Minister, would like Sir Keir Starmer. Sir Keir Starmer being the leader of the Labour Party, the leader of Her Majesty's most loyal opposition. And Labour is the main opposition party. Were Labour to win the next election, then Sir Keir Starmer would be appointed Prime Minister by the Queen. So Bojo is not going to go if he can possibly help it. He will hang on by the fingernails if needs be. He always wanted to be world king, as his sister Rachel Johnson and other journalists unwisely revealed to the public. So this is as close to being world king as Johnson is going to get. He renounced his American citizenship some years ago. Remember, he was born in New York to American parents, the only ever British Prime Minister born in the United States. So when he was an undergraduate, supposedly his vaulting ambition was to become President of the United States, but which party would have him? And would anyone nominate him, given the fact that he's got this unmistakable British accent? Bojo's got no common decency or anything like that. It's not like Thatcher thinking of the good of the country and the good of the party. Bojo doesn't care about that. Even if the party all collapses down around his ears at the next election, he doesn't mind so long as he can hang on long enough. I'm sure he's gratified because he will at least be Prime Minister in July this year, which means he will last it over 3 years. Therefore, he will have been Prime Minister for longer than Theresa May, his immediate predecessor, whom he said to view with deep disdain. Well, the feeling is mutual because she's an outspoken contemner of his and revealed that, of course, she voted against him, as is a number of big beasts. Jeremy Hunt, the one whom Bojo defeated for the leadership in 2019. Hunt would be a real change of vibe, a deeply serious man, maybe a bit of a policy wonk, perhaps bland, a bit of a Sir Keir Starmer figure, but serious-minded, respectable, and someone who's never told an untruth. So Bojo is here for a while. Will he lead the Conservative Party into the next Westminster election in December 2024? I think it improbable. There are 2 by-elections coming up on Thursday, the 23rd of June. By-elections in the UK, well, all elections in the UK take place on a Thursday since 1918. So the Wakefield one, the Conservatives are almost certainly going to lose that one. It was always Labour held since 1932. The Conservatives snatched it in that real wave year for the Tories, a blue wave year of 2019. But the Tory MP has been sent to prison for a rather shameful crime. And so Labour probably get it back. It was held by Mary Cray before, quite a big beast of the Labour Party. And who does that leave? Well, there's a Tiverton and Honiton by-election taking place because of, Neil Parish, the Conservative MP, who stood down for looking at porn in the House of Commons. Now, Labour aren't standing to give the Lib Dems a clear run, even though Labour did slightly better than the Lib Dems last time in that election. But it was actually a safe Conservative seat, 50% Conservative. About 20% Labour, about 20% Lib Dem, but I think the Conservatives will narrowly hang on. If the Conservatives were to lose that one, it would be yet another disgrace for Boris. And so for the plotters, the things that's happened prematurely. Had it been after the 23rd of June and they'd lost these 2 by-elections, then the case for booting out Boris would have been amplified. So Boris has survived. He's hung on for the moment. Okay, so thank you so much for watching my channel, and make sure you subscribe and donate to me on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.